When you're not the jealous one, but you're dealing with it. If you've ever found yourself in a relationship where you feel like you are constantly being questioned, constantly needing to explain yourself, constantly trying to prove that you are trustworthy, this is for you. And I want to start here. If you're on the receiving end of jealousy, it can be really, really confusing because part of you wants to be understanding. Obviously, you care about this person and you don't want to hurt them. But another part of you feels like you're slowly being pulled into something that doesn't feel good. And a lot of people simply don't talk about this. So jealousy is often described in psychology as a threat response. It's the brain trying to protect the connection. But here's, again, the part we don't talk about enough. When somebody else's fear becomes your reality, that's where things start to shift in an unhealthy direction. And you can start over explaining. It happens. You start explaining things you wouldn't normally have to explain. Who you were with, what you meant, what did you eat, what did you wear, who was on the radio. And these are just some of the questions that may come your way that you're like, oh yeah, I've had those questions. It's not because you did something wrong. It's because you're trying to prevent a reaction. Anybody do that? Yeah, I certainly have. And if we're being really honest, it is absolutely exhausting. And then you start kind of walking on eggshells. So we start thinking ahead. Will this upset them? Should I say something differently? Or should I just avoid this altogether? Should I be quiet? It's paralyzing and again, exhausting. So let's add in some data to this meaty conversation we're having kind of together, but I'm doling out some info on you here. So research on relationship dynamics shows that when one partner experiences high insecurity, the other partner often adapts their behavior to reduce conflict, which can slowly lead to loss of authenticity and emotional fatigue. Have we experienced that? Okay, if you haven't, pay attention. You might start wondering, am I doing something wrong? Am I being insensitive? Am I being too sensitive? Should I be more understanding? I can't answer that for you. I'm not in your relationship. You're the only one that can answer that. But certainly in my own life and in relationships in my life, especially tying back to the narcissist relationship, I've been in conversations where I have found myself explaining something over and over and over and over and over again. And it's almost like they're looking for you to change the most minute detail to be like, oh, I knew you were lying. And I remember thinking at that time, this doesn't feel like communication anymore. It feels like interrogation. It feels like I'm trying to manage somebody else's fear. And on some level, I didn't even feel like I was being treated like a loved partner in a relationship. So if you've ever found yourself in that spot, I hope all of your flags and bells and whistles are going off right now because you need to question it and you need to look at it with a different lens. You might also find yourself taking on their emotions. So you start feeling responsible for how they feel. Now, this can happen in a jealousy relationship. It also definitely can happen in a narcissistic relationship. And those two are not the same thing. So listen to what I'm saying. Pay attention. That is my number one thing I'm saying. So if you start to feel responsible for how they feel, if they're anxious and you try to fix it, if they're triggered, you try to calm it, if you go out of your way to make the environment and the situations better because again, you're waiting for that reaction and you're trying to manage their emotions, over time, that creates a dynamic where their emotional state has now become your responsibility. And as adults, we are not responsible for anybody else's happiness, nor should anybody else ask you to be in charge of their happiness. As adults, We are all in charge of that ourselves. So let's talk about an important distinction here, because this is really important when you are with somebody who is healthy and supporting somebody who is healthy. Being supportive of their emotions, because we are all going to have emotions, is okay. Being in charge of regulating their emotions is not okay. So that is an important distinction. Supporting versus regulation. You may also find yourself starting to very slowly lose bits of yourself. What does that look like? Maybe you start shrinking. Maybe you change your clothes because these clothes are going to get a reaction, but these clothes won't. Maybe you start sharing less. Maybe you start holding back more. Maybe you start adjusting more pieces. Maybe you go further and further into a shell and not interact with those friends because this person doesn't like those friends, and it's going to cause this whole thing. It's not because you want to, or maybe you might not even mean to. You just might be doing this because it feels easier than the alternative. Bells and whistles, friends. If you know this, I want you to pay attention. And I want to say this clearly. Number one, pay attention. Number two, being on the receiving end of jealousy does not make you responsible for fixing it. Now, jealousy, as we are talking about here, is often tied to attachment patterns and past experiences, which means it's something that person has to become aware of and work through. This is not your problem to solve. You can support them, but you cannot do the work for them. You cannot love them enough to do the change for them. They are going to have to change themselves. So, as we're wrapping up this baby conversation, healthy relationships don't require you to constantly prove your integrity, your trustworthiness, your love, and your attention. They allow you to exist as yourself without fear of being misunderstood or questioned all the time. So, my dear friends, if this resonated with you, I want you to go back and watch our narcissist series. It is really good. We break down the patterns where emotional responsibility gets shifted in relationships in ways that aren't obvious at first. And if you're trying to build something healthy, something grounded, watch our episode on the secret to finding love, because that's where we talk about secure, stable relationships and what they actually look like. And if this helped you, please send it to somebody else who might need to hear this and might be experiencing this too. Now, I'm going to tell you all of the things. You have to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. We genuinely want to hear all your thoughts. And so comments are always, always welcome. We want you to catch all the next videos coming out from the Conscious Creator Community podcast. So again, the likes, the subscribes, the shares, the comments, we want it all because we want to interact with you. As always, we are sending you light and love, and we can't wait to see you on the next video.